Hot day today. It is about 3 o'clock. Wonderful city of Fresno. So, middle of summer. We're gonna try to plant some tropical fruit trees here in the city of Fresno. So, because my yard is absolutely out of space. What you see here is actually one of my siblings' property. So, that's what you do when your yard is out of space. Just find your nearest relative and start putting trees in their property. Tip for you. So, what you see here is when it comes to tropicals, it's really all about placement. So right where I'm looking at, that is east, and right behind me is west, which would mean the sun, if you're in the northern hemisphere, will set from the will rise from the east and set at the west, which would mean all the trees here that I've got pre-positioned will get mostly full day sun. So, which is what majority of the tropicals would prefer. So, as you can see, the things that need full day sun are planted in the front, guavas, for example, and the trees that can appreciate some shade, mango, gets situated between the two plants, the banana and the guava, which in theory, once they grow up, will provide some shade to the mango. So that's the strategy. So, and if you've noticed, the trees that are fast growing, I've got them positioned towards the wall, so that way it doesn't outcompete the trees that are slower growing. Starfruit, crazy fast growing. That's why it's up against the wall. There's nothing behind it to shade. Whereas the Chelmoya, not the world's fastest growing tree, so that's why it sits in the front. Same with the wax jambu here. This sad little, well, this little seedling here, Gumachil, I'm going to venture and say that within the next 3 months, it's probably going to be at least 3 feet tall. So quite fast growing. So that's why it's situated back here. Same with Kamiwado, fast growing trees. And also, of course, papaya, red lady papaya. And as well as the sugarcane jujube here. So basically everything up against the wall are just fast growing trees, which is why even if they grow tall, they're not going to overshadow anything else. So that's the strategy. So once I've got the holes dug, and in fact, my sister's place is when you look at the soil, it's clay soil, but it's actually sandy clay soil, which is what these tropicals would prefer. So this tells me drainage is probably not going to be an issue. However, I am going to amend it just a bit. The soil that I use is composed of mostly peat moss and sand mixture. So that's the amendment for some of the seedlings here. So with that being the case, I'm gonna go ahead and just start putting the stuff in the ground, and then I'll show you what the end result looks like. We're actually throughout the week we're actually forecasted to be I want to say 108 next Monday, but it's constantly above 100. Central Valley. So with that being the case, well, this is what the seedlings and newly installed plants are going through. So as you can see here, what you see here, it's already in the ground, and I wanted to actually emphasize on when it comes to tropical fruit trees, it really is about microclimate. And essentially, microclimate, what that translates to is location, location, and location. So what do I mean by that? Unlike their native climate where these trees can grow just about anywhere, in the Central Valley, because of our insane heat, and more so the insane cold, the frost, which we get numerous times off during the winter time, uh, placement of your tropical fruit trees is life and death for these guys. So by placement, what I mean is, let me kind of show you the position of some of these trees. So guava, pink guava, I want to say it's a tropical pink guava. Out in the open, no protection whatsoever. Because from experience, guavas can handle the heat, and more so, it can handle the cold. Cherimoya, not a fan of the heat, which is why it's in a shade cloth. So as the sun rises over there, it gets a couple of hours worth of direct sunshine. And then as the sun is above us now, as you can see, it is majority of the time shaded. Otherwise, what's going to happen is the younger leaves are going to be burnt, sizzle like this guy right here. So when they're young, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to just help them out just a bit until they get a chance to get acclimated. So Cherimoya, another tree, another seedling that can appreciate some shade. Kind of sorry looking, and not the best shade cloth structure in the world, but hey, it is practical. Black pearl wax jambu, fast growing tree. For the first year or so, it definitely can appreciate some shade. So that's why it's if you look at the shadow that's being cast by the shade cloth, it is relatively shaded, and in the morning it gets again similar to the Cherimoya, it gets a couple of hours worth of direct sunlight. So, and of course, Manila mango here. Most mangoes, including the Manila, when they're seedlings like this, can appreciate some shade during the first year or the second year, which is what you see here. I mean, this guy is just nothing but shade. I mean, not a single part of the leaf is in direct sun. It is just in direct shade. Again, opening in the front for a couple of hours worth of direct sun. And then beyond that, well, I wouldn't even say direct sun because you've got the shadow that really is being casted by the guava here, also shading it just a bit. In fact, it was strategically placed here between the guava, which is sun tolerant tree, along with the banana here. It's both of these will serve to be kind of the parent tree, casting its shadow over the Manila mango, which is what it would appreciate. But until that happens, shade cloth. So speaking of the banana, this is a Namwa banana. No problem at all with the sun, which is why it's just back here. So the problem that it will have is it's going to be the space that it needs, which is why it's in this corner here, and which is why as it grows up, the pups will shoot from the ground, and it's got plenty of space to propagate the pups. So yeah, with bananas, I tend to put them in a corner just because it makes a great corner plant. So Namwa banana, starfruit. This guy has no problem with the sun, even when it's a seedling like this. If you look at it, let me get away from it. If you look at it, no shade whatsoever. It's doing great. Star fruits, if you look at the leaves, you see how they're closed like this? That's actually an adaptation mechanism. It's a self-defense mechanism. When it gets too hot, the tree actually kind of closes its leaf. What that does is, well, number one, it minimizes the sun exposure, because if you look at it, the side that's facing the camera now, it's mostly shaded. However, the side that's facing the sun is getting full sun. So practically half of the seedling is shaded. And also, it minimizes the transpiration, so it effectively closes its pores, which are majority of them underneath the trees, the leaves, the foliage. So it's fine. That's a coping mechanism. Uh, Thai guava here. This one, yeah, no problem at all. Again, that's why it's left back here. So now this guy really is in the same league as the starfruit. However, because it is like literally just maybe a week old, grown from seed, a gumachil. Let me see if I can show it to you. Yeah, it's literally just a week old. So that's why we're just babying it so heavily. Yeah, generally in about a month, it should be okay to remove the shade cloth. But for the first, being that it is really literally a baby, we are wanting to make sure that it's okay with the summer. So that's why you see it basically being protected by the shade cloth there. But yeah, I suspect within the next week, once we take out the shade cloth, it's fine. Climbing water, of course, not an issue. Yeah, this guy, the more sun, the better. Just like the starfruit, another coping mechanism. The foliage, once it's established, the leaves are not going to be closed like this. They will open up to absorb the most sunlight. But it's just a bit too hot right now. That's why it's like that. Papaya. This particular one is a red lady papaya. There's actually three of them here. So if you look at it, there's I've got three papayas in the same hole. Let me show you why. So here's a good example. There are, in fact, these particular sets of papayas were actually propagated from seed. Got a red lady papaya, split open up the papaya, scoop out the seeds, sow them in the containers, and that's what happened. So the thing with papayas is you don't really want to disturb the roots at all. Try your best to not disturb the roots, which is why, in my case, I oftentimes just put all of them in the same container. And if I choose to down the road, if I feel that they're a bit competing too much with each other, I'll just pluck out the one that's underperforming. But from experience, though, having three papaya couple of inches away from each other, it's fine. So yeah, and again, when you look at the leaf structure, kind of sad looking. I mean, it's a bit droopy like this. This one's actually a really good example. It's droopy like this. It's not like what you see down here where it's fully open. And again, this is just a coping mechanism. So it's fine. Papayas handle full sun without any difficulties. Um, and then another one here, sugarcane jujube. Perhaps the world's sweetest jujube variety. Not an issue with the sun. Uh, Wintertime, this particular guy will go deciduous. So, in addition to the microclimate that you can do to assist them for the first year or so, there's also a reason why I chose to put these back here in this particular row here, as opposed to say putting them in the front. The reason why is all of these are super fast growers. This papaya, I kid you not, When I put my red lady papayas in the ground 2 months ago, they were this size, and now both of them are reaching a good 6 foot tall, 6, 7 foot tall. So within 2 months' time, these papayas would be, you're talking, very likely taller than the fence. So that being the case, there's really nothing back here that is gonna block the sun. So essentially, the full row of tropicals that you see here, I want them to grow to above the fence. Just because what happens is right around 4 o'clock, the sun is actually on the other side of the fence, and the fence actually casts a shadow right towards right where I'm standing. And I've observed it, so that's how I know the position of the sun. So come 4 o'clock, the fence essentially shades everything that you see here, which serves two purposes. When these guys are young, it gives them kind of a break. Essentially, come 4 o'clock, they all get a nice break from the sun, give them a chance to cool down. And also, that being the case, as they grow tall, they will also outgrow the shadow of the fence. So essentially, the shadow of the fence is not going to be the problem because these trees will be taller than the shadow. So yeah, that's the strategy. So anyhow, yeah, I mean, everything you see here, even the shake off here, this is just really temporary. Um, I would imagine probably sometime next year after this winter hits that you could take them out. Um, Everything here, with with the rare exception of the black pearl wax shampoo, does not need any frost protection. That's not to say that it wouldn't hurt. I mean, there's no harm in, if you want to frost protect them. There's no harm in doing that. But from my experience, all of mine have been able to handle it, including seedlings. But my recommendation is, because this particular wax shampoo is fairly young and manageable. I mean, all you do is really just like put a clear plastic Tupperware on top of it, just something that just kind of holds the heat that's being generated from the earth, and also prevents the frost from the top from being formed. So that's really it. I mean, that's the cool thing is it's nice and small, so therefore it's manageable. But beyond that, everything else, yeah, not an issue with the coal. So yeah, I mean, if you look at it, space is pretty small. I mean, not a whole lot of space, and yet you're able to put like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 various tropical fruit trees here. So anyhow, yeah, we're gonna put one in the front just to see which one performs better. But I suspect they both will perform well here. So anyhow, all right, quick video on transplanting a papaya onto just native dirt. So the soil is actually quite good. It's actually quite well draining. So I'm going to, and being that this is germinated from seedling, they're not going to really be as pushy when it comes to getting acclimated to their preferred soil. So that being the case, just like a really quick, like literally quick video on that I do to transplant a papaya in the ground using native dirt, no amendments whatsoever. As you can see, the hole that I dug, when you're digging a hole, aim for the size of the hole as opposed to the depth. The more surface area that you can dig, the better for the tree. The roots don't go deep, they spread wide. So get the larger hole. And as you can see, it is slightly right at grade, which is the root level. It's the soil is at the same level as the pot. So that being the case, I'm gonna take it out. So there is several advantage of putting seedlings straight into your native soil. They have a much better chance at getting acclimated uh, than if you were, say, trying to put a grafted or air layered tree. So here you go, and literally just put it back in. That's really it. Not much to it. This is as easy as you can get. So now the trick is to not suffocate the feeder roots that is near the top. So as you can see, I'm pushing out all the air bubbles that might be present surrounding the soil and removing the uh, dirt that was on top of the original soil. And that is mostly it. Last emphasis, you're going to want to create a little well, a little berm, because what's going to happen is when I water, I want the water to be confined to the well. So that way the water goes straight to the roots where I want the water to go, as opposed to just everywhere. So big emphasis on this berm here, this well here. That's it. Generally 2 weeks later, the tree's established. It's good. Last thing for me to do is just gently water it, keeping the soil moist to the touch, which would mean generally watering every day or so, maybe every other day, depending on the temperature, and also applying a nice batch of mulch on top of it, insulating the soil from the intense sun. So anyhow, all right.